Hey guys, how are ya? Uh, I came across an interesting comment from one of my most popular videos. I think my most popular video with over 1 million views. Anyway, uh, sh- what about learning C++ in 2021? So we're going to go over this guy's comment, and I'll give you my 2 cents as usual. So I hope everybody is well, and I hope everybody can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? I always do a sound check before. Yeah, just post it in the comments so I can see that everybody can hear me quite fine. Zoom in a little bit. Yeah, how many people we got coming on here? Not too many people yet. There's always a bit of a lag time, eh? From Stefan, no reason to go study Python. You can't hear me. Hello? It says you can hear me. He's answering a question. Yeah, let me know if you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up. I can't even see you. What? That's odd. I'm hearing. All right, so you can hear. Can you guys see me okay? Yeah, I'm not getting any activity on this stream. Me too. Me too what? Hey guys, how are you? Let me know if you can hear me. It just started. I need contextually context with your sentence, please. So me too doesn't tell me anything. Your video is stuttering. Huh. There could be a lag. There could be a lag. We'll find out. Hey, from Toronto. How are you, Anar? I hope everything is good. It's good. And let me know if you can hear me or not. Great to see you, Stef. Good to see you. Advocatus. Good day, Rob. I hope everything is well. Yeah. So, can somebody just in the comments say yes, we can hear you? I want to see that Heare. No E. Hear. I always do these checks because you never know. The video is buffering for anyone else. I don't know. Can anybody else see the buffer? Is there any buff? All right. Okay. Video is buffering. Yeah. Hello, Sat. Sup? I hope everything is good. I need a confirmation from you guys if you can hear me or not. Hello, Zorbaz. I hope everything is well. Your video does keep buffering. I'm not sure if its resolution is too high. Interesting. Good audio. Yes. Stream is lagging. Okay. Thank you. Make a course on streaming without lag. Well, you're going to have to blame YouTube's for that. It could be the time of the day because everybody is doing video distance work, Zoom meetings, and a lot of schools. So there could be a lot of buffering because of that. All right, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to go through with it. If it's too much buffering, I will put I will. If there's too much buffering in the replay, I'll put a local copy so you get the local copy. Okay, thank you for answering my question finally. All right, so I'm just going to jump into the subject at hand, and then we'll do a little bit of Q&A afterwards. So let me get into it. So I found this comment. Let me zoom in here. Oh, that's no good. I found this comment here under my video on C++ from 2018, but it was a year ago, over 1.2 million views. So I just wanted to comment on this because I think this is anyway, I'll just jump into it. Okay, you have overlooked very important things. The top reason to learn C++ isn't for job opportunities. So that's this guy. We're going to read what he has to say, and we'll take it from there. Yeah. Unless you are looking to get into a particular business or industry where C++ is dominant, you don't need it for your job. If you're making choices based on job opportunities, you should look into C#, full stack, JavaScript with Node. Go may also remain hot. Java remains hot. The top reason to learn C++ is because it gets you closer to silicon. Well, it does, but I don't know how valuable that is. We'll see what he has to say. All right. A lot of programmers these days flat out don't really understand how a computer works. I've been programming for 40 years. I've been paid to program an assembly language on several platforms. When you're programming assembly, you absolutely learn how the machine works. You learn about memory and address modes and the instruction set of the hardware. These are concepts that a lot of younger programmers never learn. They don't understand how the stack and the heap work. They may not have a real clue what a pointer is. C++ is really only a little bit above assembly language. You're not working with address modes and registers and instruction sets anymore. Don't worry, I'm going to get into all this and explain everything. But you are working with pointers and dealing with memory management. These are important concepts. You're bit twiddling, perhaps. You're laying out your structures, and you may even be thinking about the size of the data in your structures. That all has to do with managing your memory. For example, if you have an object that holds a few booleans, a few characters, a short and int, a double, and 20 pointers, doesn't matter what order you declare them. Yes, it does if you're dealing with very high efficiency languages. That's my little editorial in there. Anyway, if you declare them in the order I just listed them, you are mostly okay. If you declare a bool, then a pointer, then a character, then a double, you're going to waste a lot of space. And maybe that doesn't matter, but really it does. Well, does it really matter? When you code in C or C++, if you get good at it, you become far more aware of these things. You become aware of what pointers are and pointers to pointers. You learn that a reference is just a pointer with different semantics. You learn how the machine works, and later that helps you when your code is slow or when something seems to be consuming a lot more memory than you think it could. Should you learn C++ if you really want to be a top-end programmer? You should, he declares, learn C++ if you want to become a top-end programmer, and you should learn it well, even if you never code in it professionally. So that's an interesting perspective, and I respect his point of view, but I have a different perspective. So let me jump into it. With modern day programming languages, all the things that he talks about here, you don't really have to contend with very much, because the software, the programming language, whether it be C#, Java, JavaScript, Python, PHP, and so many others, they take care of this for you for the most part. So you never get into that. So to understand those type of optimizations is interesting on an academic level, and is interesting on a professional level if you are working in that environment where you have to mind the thing. So if your goal is to be a C++ programmer to develop low-level gaming engines or IoT devices or wherever C++ happens to be used, then it makes sense to learn all these things. But if you're writing JavaScript, the optimizations in JavaScript is not going to be whether or not you understand the intricacies of data type stacking, if you will. The optimizations in JavaScript is understanding HTTP and how that works, and how the rendering engines work, and how you should, how you should structure your JavaScript. So the efficiencies found in JavaScript, as an example, has a lot more to do most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, with the architecture of your code base, less in the intricacies of the code, with some exceptions, depending. So Do you need to go learn C++? Will that make you a better JavaScript programmer? Marginally, yes, but learning Python will make you a marginally better JavaScript programmer as well. So again, the way I think about his thinking, and it's not totally without merit, there's no question about that. If you are a furniture maker, you made furniture with wood, is it required that you understand how to cultivate and plant trees? Do you have to understand how to efficiently plant different types of trees and how the different trees should be planted and the distance apart they should be? I used to tree plant a long time ago. Which trees grow faster than other trees? Do you need to know this as a carpenter, as somebody who makes furniture? I would argue you don't. You need to know the basics about the wood. What's a hardwood, what's a softwood, what are the characteristics of different types of wood, for sure, because you're going to be working with the wood. But do you need to know how all the trees are grown and cultivated and cut and so forth? No, you don't. Not if you're a furniture maker. I kind of see it as the same. Okay. So that's pretty much it. So is C++ viable in 2021? Of course it is. There's lots of job opportunities. But I believe that first and foremost, when you do look at programming languages, you have to consider where you want to work in the industry, because there's all these different verticals. There's all these different places. You can work in game development. You can work in full stack, high-level languages like JavaScript, PHP, Python, not Ruby, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or you can go low-level, C, C++, assembler. It's a different type of game. It's a different type of programming, even if you go down to like COBOL programming, if you're going to work on mainframes. Again, it's a different type of development. It's a different job in many respects. So I, first and foremost, and maybe because I'm a businessman first, if you will, I kind of look at the job and the business implications of a particular language choices and technology choices I make. Again, in every environment, in every stack, how you optimize depends on that environment more than anything else. So yes, to conclude, in 2021, C++ is very viable. It's still one of the top 3 or 4. It's in the top 3 or 4 most popular languages in the world today. It isn't going away. It's like, what, a 40-year-old language now or something like that, or a 50-year-old language. That's another thing that makes me laugh a little bit. People are always concerned. Young nerdlings are into the game. They go, oh, I got to learn the latest and the latest. Meanwhile, C, C++, SQL, Java, Python, PHP, all these languages are so popular, so widely used. They're very old. They're really old. In the old days, there was such a quick in the old days, back in the 90s, there was such a quick change in the technology that you had to be on top of it almost every 6 months to a year. Something big would change. But we've really plateaued in terms of the evolution of basic programming languages and stacks and so forth and application development. We've really plateaued in, I'd say, the last 7 to 10 years. Not much has changed. The big changes are more in DevOps and servers. The server action is where the action is, and in AI, of course. So there you go. I think that covers that subject. I got it done under 15 minutes. Fantastic. So we're having some connection problems. Are you guys still having difficulty hearing me? Just let me know, yes, we're having difficulty, or no, we can hear you fine, video's fine. Because what I could do is, if you guys want to watch the replay, I could just upload a local copy of this video so it just looks a lot better and sounds clearer. So, yeah, so let me know. I want to know everything. That's it. That's a worthy task. Gameplay, how are you doing? But what is full stack by your understanding, Stef? It's writing, full stack is reference to web development, and that has to do with writing the code for a web browser that's processed in a web browser. So it's HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So that code is actually processed, computed, most processed in the web browser. That's the front end. The back end, the server stuff, the code that's run on the server, that would be your Python, your PHP, your Java, your C#, your JavaScript if you're doing Node, and other languages as well, Perl, et cetera, Swift even. They run on the server, so that's considered the back end. So you got the back and you got the front end. And if you do both, that's called the full stack. Think of it like a hamburger. You got the bottom bun, which is the server, and you got the top bun, which is your web browser, your HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, and you do all of it. It's full stack. People specialize in different areas. The larger the company you're in, the more likely you're going to be specialized in a particular area. And the smaller the company you are in, the more likely you're going to be doing a broader range of programming. If you enjoy the game of learning new things, if you enjoy the process of having different tasks in your job, then you're probably better off working for a small, medium-sized company because you're going to be doing many different things, much more likely. Whereas you work for a very large company, chances are you're going to be siloed off in a particular area, and that's what you're going to do. Okay? All right, sounds okay. Vid pixels, sound perfect, video not really. Okay, yeah, so we're having some streaming issues. I apologize. What can you do? It's the interwebs these days. People ask me, Stef, a book that you recommend. So first book I recommend if you are somebody who's done your fundamentals, you're comfortable writing code, you want to up your game quite a bit, this is the book. Now I have a link in the description of the video. I should update that link. There's a second edition of this book you should get. I think this one uses Java, and the new version of this book uses JavaScript, so it's probably more relevant for most people. So this is one of the few books that I've kept from 20 years ago because it's still relevant to today. This is how you take your coding to the next level. If you're a total noob and you discovered me and you want to learn the basics of the web stack, then I wrote my book. Start here. So this is a great book if you want to learn the web stack from start to HTML, CSS, HTTP, client, server, request, response cycle, all this kind of stuff. It's got all kinds of pretty pictures, all kinds of nice diagrams. So those are the two books I recommend. There's a lot of other good books out there, but that's what I recommend. All right. We'll answer a few questions. Is C++ viable for desktop development? Yeah, it is. It is. But again, if you're doing desktop, I think on Windows you want to do .NET, and I think on Mac. Are they still using Objective C, or they did move to Swift for Mac development? I'm not sure about that. Your cam video is pixelated. The text overlay is fine, but the video looks like MPEG-1. Yeah, it's a bandwidth issue. It's a bandwidth issue. I think it depends where you happen to be, because some people say it looks clear. Your video looks like Real Media before Xvid came out. Real Media, that's cool. I like that. That's an old reference. I have to learn C++ from university. Yeah, why not? Listen, the more languages you learn, the better off you are, generally speaking. I understand that guy's arguments in the post, and it was a thoughtful post that got like 366 upvotes. So I said, hey, I figured it would be something to bring up here. What do we got? It's interesting. I work with both full stack and C programmers. The C guys have a very different attitude towards the client. My view is full stack guys are more engaging at business level. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, David. If you're doing C work in assembler, you're really detached from the business cycle. You're in the gears, if you will, of software. Whereas if you're doing full stack, there's a lot more client interaction. So if you're really an introvert and you don't like dealing with people, you might be better off with the C and the C++ and the assembler. But you shouldn't be an introvert. In fact, next point I want to point out is I did a poll yesterday. Here it is. So I did a poll yesterday. So I'm working on a new course video book, and I call it The Lizard Wizard. And it's a very advanced training on psychology, how your brain works, basically the operating system of your brain you're going to learn about, and the language of your brain. So I call it the lizard wizard because even in the literature, in the science, they refer to a big part of your brain as the lizard brain. Why? Because the lizards have a similar brain. But we have more than the lizard, of course. We have the lizard brain, and we have, of course, our higher logical brain. We share the lizard brain with lizards and all invertebrates up the evolutionary scale. but we have our higher logical brain that the lizards don't have. The higher brain does the math and does the taxes. You use your higher brain to do 2 plus 2, and you learn to read. And the lizards don't have that higher brain. Lizards don't do taxes, and they don't know how to do math. But the lizard brain is significantly more powerful in terms of raw CPU power, if you will, than the higher brain. And what they've learned in the last many years is that the lizard brain, in fact, has a huge impact in terms of your day-to-day life. So the more you understand about your lizard brain and the operating system that manages this brain, the better off you're going to be, whether you're learning to code, whether you're getting jobs, whether you're advancing your career, etc. So to that point, I did a poll last night. I said, are you interested in my advanced psychology operating system of the brain video series, The Lizard Wizard? So so far 441 votes. 79% of the people said that yes, I want to master my lizard. So that's cool. So that's a pretty strong thumbs up in that regard. So I wanted to emphasize this guy, Hamza. He made an interesting comment here, which I thought was very cool. So Hamza says, for those who say no, psychology will help you understand individuals within your team, detect manipulations like guilt and victimization, recognize the deal with narcissists, a knowledge that will have a huge, I'm going to put 2 U's here, a huge impact in your IT life and any library or framework. Yes, something I say all the time, you're better off to learn better communication skills, and that has to do with psychology in wizarding. You're better off to learn better communication skills to advance in your career as a developer than to learn a new language or a new framework, believe it or not. Anyway, moreover, IT being a hard profession, we are more confronted to others' psychology than almost any other job. That's a very good point. That's an astute point. Yes, under pressure, people's bad character comes out, in fact. There's a line, if you remember the second Matrix movie. So the main character, Keanu Reeves' character, Neo, he gets into a fight with this other good guy, software program, the Chinese guy, the Oriental guy. And he is the bodyguard for another character. Anyway, so they fight, bing, 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 boom, bang, 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 bang. And then they stop the fight partway through, and the guy he's fighting, the guy Neo is fighting, says, I had to fight you because you don't really know somebody until you fight them. That was the line. And that's a great line because I used to do a lot of ring fighting and stuff. And I tell you, it's so true. Because when you get in the ring and you start hammering people and they're hammering you, you start to see who's a jerk and who's not a jerk. You start to see the real character come out under pressure. So coding could be a high pressure situation. So he's right about this. We are more confronted to other psychology, meaning they start breaking, than almost any other job. So disclaimer, I'm in IT for 15 years. I wish I knew some psychology before my very first job. Seriously, it's very smart move to add psychology courses to IT, Stefan. Thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah, I have a background in psych. That was my major in university. But I did not graduate. I'm not a psychologist. But my psych training as it is, and I kept up to date with certain things, has been super valuable for me in terms of everything I do in my career. And it will be valuable for you. So that's why I decided to create this training package, which is geared towards, it's very broad, but it will help developers a lot as well. Yeah, so there you go. How are we doing for time? 20. Okay, we're going to close off with a few more comments, and yeah, we'll take it from there. I watched the stream because you look like my uncle. There you go. That's the lizard working on you, buddy. You'll understand that. Jacko, I think full stack devs also need to know about CI/CD. Video is fine. Okay, we got that. Okay, how we do it? What languages to learn for dev mobile apps? Kotlin. Well, if you want to do native mobile, is Kotlin is the number one choice. Even Google said Kotlin over Java for Android. And of course, for iOS, you got to do Swift. Swift most of the time, Objective-C. They still use it apparently, but it's phasing out quite a bit, if not totally. I recommend, though, if you're thinking about mobile, I would look to PWA first or some other cross-platform solution like Flutter or something. Side Nord says, thanks for running this, Stef. No problem. I enjoy these things. For me, this is a lot of fun. It's relaxing. So I don't mind sharing my knowledge, and I like just interacting with people. Farouk says, hey, Stef, is it a good idea to learn AI along with web development? And is C# good to do machine learning or Python? If you're going to do machine learning, I'm sure you could do with C#. You probably can, but Python is by far the most popular as far as I know now. So if you're concerned about work and so forth, if you come in to an environment where they're doing AI, chances are they're going to be doing it with Python. Learn both at the same time. If you have the time, and if you want to do it, why not? But if you want to get to making money quick, then you pick something and you specialize in that so you can get there quicker. Okay? That's it. Any other question? Your book is quite good. How did you do that? See my Amazon review. Thanks for giving me a review on Amazon, Bill. How did I do that? How did I do my book? I don't know. I've been approached over many years by various publishers wanting me to produce books for them. And I finally decided to do this book, just so that I've done a book. That's all. I didn't make much money on this, and that wasn't the point of it. The point was just to do the book. And actually it helped my game a little bit. When you write a book, you have a primary editor that you work with. You have a secondary editor who's checking the veracity of the claims you're making in the book to make sure that my code is good and so forth. And then you have a graphic designer. So I would work with this small team and the publisher, and I would send them graphics, and sometimes it would be sketches. I say, I want this type of diagram, and their graphic designer would go in there and just clean it up and make it look much better. So I'm trying to find an example here. I wrote this book to be evergreen. So like, for instance, this little chart here where I'm showing directory structures. This is what trips people up a lot of times, directory structures. So I wrote this. So I drew this out on paper, I think, and then they created this nice little schematic to make it fun for people. I'll answer a few more questions, but I'm going to be leaving you. Okay. What do you think about Rust versus C#, C++? I think C++ will continue to dominate. I'm sure Rust will stay around in some niche form, but it's one of those need-to-nerd technologies in that it's something that I'm not disparaging it. It probably is better in some ways, but it may not. I don't think it's going to displace C++ for the most part. So if something should come up where you need to use Rust, you learn it. Again, once you become a true developer, for you to pivot from one language, from Rust to C++, or from Java to C#, or from JavaScript to PHP, or to pivot away from Ruby to Python, it's easy. It's not a big deal. As a C person, I concur. Okay, cool. C to go full autism. Stephen, what costs are likely to be incurred in an e-commerce web app from development to production? Oh, it depends on the complexity. Like, is it doing digital product? Is it doing just physical product? How many payment gateways are going to use? Are you going to use a standard like PayPal and Stripe, or are you going to use your own gateway? It goes all up in the air. You can get them done. If you're doing a simple product-based thing, I would just use a Shopify or something. That's what I would do. How much? I've done it several times. Your cost is anywhere, $2,000 to $5,000, depending on the complexity. It's in Canada. Reasons to learn SQL in 2021, because SQL-based databases are by far the most popular, so understanding SQL is important, and it's not hard to learn the basics. You know, you learn the CRUD, create, read, update, and delete SQL calls. You understand about table creation and normalization. Maybe do some more advanced SQL, like inner joins, outer joins, that kind of stuff. But views, but not much more than that. I suggest people learn some C++ after learning JavaScript. I took this path as a self-learner and now have a much better understanding of various programming paradigms. Yep, for sure more, but this is not exclusive to C++. You could do with C++, but you can do with many other languages. I knew there were a lot of lizards among us. Oh yes, many lizards out there. Lizard Brain Hub. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. 31 minutes. I'm not sure how this video is going to look like in a replay. See if I'll catch one more question. Hey, Stef, just tune in. Hey, Stef, just tune in. C++ good for WebAssembly reasons. I don't know. I have not used it. So there's review of test-driven development. I think it's cool. I think I do get into that only after you have a use case that is solid. In the initial stages of development, brand new app, the use case will change radically. So you start writing all these tests, you're going to be incurring a lot more time as you start having, and then you're going to have to break your tests and rewrite them again because you're going to be rewriting core foundational objects and foundational code. Once you're past the version 1, maybe, and going to the version, you got a use case that's well established, then I would start putting in your test at that point in time. That's just me. All right. Thank you. I'm glad you like Mr. Bot. I'm glad you like the vids. You're welcome, Zorbes. Thanks for checking in. Last question, then we'll head out, because I like your icon. I want to become a better Java dev. Currently have some experience with Spring. Have been constantly working on my app for the past 3 months and learning design patterns. What to do next? I would just put out some application that actually works. So I would reach out, find somebody if you're not working for anybody, and I would actually build. There's a big part about being a good developer is being able to communicate with your clients, being able to figure out spec, and being able to put out a working application that everybody likes. So that's what I would suggest that you do. I think you're ready to go in the real world. You have to borrow from boxing. At some point, you got to stop doing the drills and hitting the pads, and you got to get in the ring and you got to start fighting. And any experienced fighter will tell you that you learn so much more in the ring, in the fight, than you do doing training drills and so forth. Same thing with coding, by the way. All right, that's it for now. Been 33 minutes. I will let you go with my ASMR boat video, which I like anyway. Ciao.